This is a human skull, and today I'm going to talk about training your nose. Training your nose for conscious breath work. Yes, you can, first of all. You can train your nose like you can train anything in your body or your mind. So this is a skull, and this is the hole here. Your nose sits on the front of this, and if you can look into that, you can see these passageways, this incredible architecture inside the back of the face here, where air comes in. Now, a lot of people are breathing through the mouth here, and that's not so beneficial for the body, certainly not on a daily basis. It's okay short term for certain things, but ideally you want to be training the nose so you can breathe in through the nose as much as is humanly possible. If you look at the back of the skull in here, you can see where the passageways come through, where the air goes all the way through here and goes down into the pharynx and down into the trachea, down into your lungs. And if I take the top of the skull off, you can see here, this little saddle here in the brain, potentially you can see that, and this little place here is the area where the nose and the brain are almost in intimate contact, the back of the nose. So the air you're breathing in is coming just below this part of the brain here, where we get the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the pineal glands, which are the centers of your hypothalamic, pituitary, adrenal axis. That's the bits of the brain and the glands that run the autonomic function in your body. That's how you live, basically, in terms of your stress response and how you manage day-to-day experiences. So how do you train the nose? How do you train the nose? A lot of people breathe through the mouth. It's very, very common, especially with the mask-wearing strategies that people have been adopting. And this can make people breathe in through the mouth. And when we breathe it through the mouth, we tend to breathe up into the chest, up here. And that builds up adrenaline, it builds up stress in the body, and it causes an awful lot of complications in terms of the consequences of stress, which are cardiometabolic disorders. So nose breathing is connected to belly breathing, breathing down to the belly. If you want to make sure you're breathing into the belly, bring your hand onto your belly and breathe in and expand your belly on the inhale. And that's your diaphragm flattening down, pushing the belly out. Really important to be able to do that. How do we train the nose? So here we start. You can start with some massage here around the passage of the nose here, around the passages here, and you can get your index fingers in, around, making little circles around where you can feel the bony margins of the skull. And breathe in slowly as you can as you're doing it. It doesn't matter if you sniff. All the way down to the bottom corners here. And then 2 or 3 times like this. And then press the fingers into these acupuncture points here in the bottom corners here, and just press in and make little circles here and spread them slightly wide and breathe in slowly through the nose, best you can do. That's the start of breathing it through the nose. The next thing I want to talk about is the nasalis muscles, which are these muscles here. If I do this, you can probably see them here. These ones here, they come from the bridge of the nose down onto the face here on the sides. And what they do is they open the nasal passages. Okay? Now again, these are often very weak in a lot of people because we tend to breathe either through the mouth or very passively through the nose. So you can activate these muscles and switch them on. And again, we're going to train these over time. And that spreads the nasal passages open. And ideally, we're going to be breathing through the nose as slow as is possible. And of course, that depends on your carbon dioxide tolerance. It depends on how you've been breathing. And if you've been mouth breathing, your carbon dioxide tolerance will be quite low. So you'll tend to feel breathless. You'll tend to feel hungry on the breath, which means you can't take a slow inhale. So we'll work with that over time. But that's why I say, just do the best you can for now. We'll build that up, okay? Okay, so that's nasal passages, massaging, opening up with the nasalis muscle the best you can. Slow inhale. The next piece of the puzzle is what you're doing with your tongue and your mouth. So these muscles, the jaw muscles, relaxed as possible. And the tongue, there are two positions that are useful to work with. Just behind the top teeth, which is where the tongue comes in. Top teeth just underneath there, like that. And the next one is right on the top of the mouth, up on the top of the mouth, the cerebral point, as it's called, on the top of the palate, on the top of the hard palate. You can vary the amounts of pressure depending on how open or how closed your nasal passages are. So you might want to put a bit more pressure on. So let's try the tongue in the top position first, which is the best position to train the nose open to begin with. And when you press the tongue up there, you'll feel these muscles around the hyoid, around the throat here, switching on. So press your tongue up quite firmly to start with. You can always reduce the pressure later. And then switch on these nasalis. So tongue pressed up, nasalis open, and breathe in as slow as you can through the nose, down into the belly. It doesn't matter if you snarl. Sometimes these muscles around the mouth and the nasal muscles are all kind of stuck together. We've got to do a bit of face yoga to loosen them up. So we can get that open. So I'll say that again. Tongue pressing up, you can do it quite firmly to begin with. Doesn't matter if you snarl. Nasalis muscles open. Breathe in as slow as you can and get that breath going down into the belly, so the diaphragm's pushing down into the abdominal area, into the belly area, and you'll feel the belly pushing out into your hand. And then breathe out through the nose. And relax. In again, press the tongue. Exhale, relax. Inhale again, press the tongue. Open the nose. And relax. That's starting to train the nose open. Now, ideally, you'll do this whenever you're exercising. When you go running or doing any exercising, it's a bit harder with swimming. Talk about that another time. But best you can, train the nose and do your exercise at the pace of your breath. Don't let the breath become mouth breathing and then your body catches up on the anaerobic respiration later. So build up that nasal capacity, build up that nasal power and train the nose. One last point, some kinds of yogic breathing, they do alternate nostril breathing. They use the fingers like this, fingers and thumb to close the nose like this. Open one side, close the other side. Sometimes like this, with two fingers at the top of the head, using the thumb and the index and the ring finger. Okay. Different styles. They're great to start with. And training the nose to breathe in through alternate nostrils actually switches on the executive choice-making function of the different sides of the prefrontal cortex. It's the choice-making function, it facilitates learning, it facilitates memory, recall, and it facilitates emotional processing. What choice do you have around what you're feeling? So this part of the brain is really crucial, really important. And what you can actually do over time, and I've had this tested, is you can breathe in at will through one side, one nostril at a time. So I'm going to breathe in through my left nostril. And you'll probably see these muscles on this side working. And stop and hold it for a moment. And I'm going to breathe out through the right side. And up through the right. Hold, switch these muscles on, and then breathe out through my left. So these muscles here, when they're trained, when you can consciously switch them on independently, give you access to consciously breathing in through the left or the right side, and therefore activating blood flow independently in the left or right prefrontal cortices, switching on learning, effective decision making, emotional processing, and a whole load of other good stuff. When you breathe through the nose, it also switches on nitric oxide, which is released into the breath. You can also do that with humming, by the way. It switches on nitric oxide, which is released into the breath. And that is vasodilatory, which means it switches on, opens the blood vessels in the lungs, taking up more oxygen. It's antibacterial and antiviral. Great. The other thing about nose breathing that really is quite amazing is when you breathe in through the nose and you get that breath slow and lift the breath up through the passages, up right underneath the base of the brain, you're switching on some erectile tissue epithelium, and you're vibrating the base of the brain, cultivating a state of joy. You get a default state of joy simply from breathing. And as you do it more and more fully and more comfortably, you can just get into a really sweet bliss state just from breathing through your nose. So there you go. Some stuff on training your nose. Absolutely crucial to get done, especially if you're a conscious breath worker. If you want to do more of this kind of stuff, you know where to find me. www.christophergladwell.com. Come and join our courses. Come and get yourself trained up in the subtleties and the intelligence of deep conscious breath work. And get this nose opened up. Get your breath trained so that you can live a powerful, beautiful life.